G'day folks, and welcome back to the channel for episode number 12 of our Hardcore Death Knight Achievements run. Now, as you may have noticed up here in the left corner, I am now in Elite difficulty. And before I get underway, I want to go through a few changes and a few things you need to make sure you have or don't have before you start Elite. So this is the character, and you can see here I've done a little bit of shopping. And the stats they're okay. There's a few fairly large holes in our armor here. So the feet, the arms, and the head both or all have very large holes. But you'll see our armor absorption there is decently high, and the numbers are pretty good. This build would probably be fine exactly how it is. We're a little low on poison and acid, a little low on cold, but everything else is capped. So we should be fine. However, I wanted to fix especially these boots. These shoulders are a blue drop, so maybe you don't get those, so I kind of wanted to find a replacement for that as well. And also it's a vitality and cold item, so it's not amazing, but it'll do. So I went and, like I said, did some shopping. Most of it is faction gear. This is the normal Slith Primal Ring. Never throw these out because you never know when the ring you were using entirely for 17% Aether resistance is no longer going to be needed. And 12% to 3 good resistances is definitely very, very nice. So with that said, I've got the Legion chest guard. Now this is available once you get to, I believe it's respected with the Black Legion, so everybody should have access to this. Physical damage, offensive ability, physical resistance, +2 to internal trauma, which is a mutator on Force Wave, and some Chaos Res. This is really nice, and it's replacing Zolhan's Battle Plate, which is level 40, so decent upgrade on armor. Let's chuck that on there. Next up is the shoulders, again from the Black Legion. Again, physical damage, physical resistance, decent-ish resistance on it, and +2 to Blitz, which is another skill that we use. Also, just shy of 500 hit points is nothing to be scoffed at. And the armor value is actually a little lower than the Wraith Knight's Pauldrons, but I'll survive. Basically, I wanted to swap these in just to have an option that was not a random drop. So now we're into that one. And the boots, again, this is Black Legion stuff. But this is basically a swap from Chaos Res to Aether Res, from Chaos to Physical, and then number go up pretty much everywhere else on the item. So we're going to chuck those on as well. Now, as you can see, that basically caps everything except for piercing and poison. These are definitely resistances you want to get a cap on in Act 1, but 71% in Act 1, probably not a huge deal. I'm okay with this. I would say to go into Elite on a non-pet build, you probably want at least 50% everything, and in Act 1, you're going to want to have the top row, maybe minus piercing, but definitely poison, definitely elemental, and definitely Aether and bleeding for Krieg himself. So resistances, I would say 50% minimum across the board, and capped is definitely doable. Another thing you need going into Elite, you should have your Juggernaut Relic. There's no reason not to have this. If you don't have it, go and get it. This is amazing. This is by far the best leveling relic in the game for every class. Just that healing proc alone will keep you alive. Next thing you need, get yourself a Mogara's Fangs. Again, prefer of the Grove, but if you remember the video from earlier, if you don't get this by level, I think it was 36, you're probably not going to. So if you can't get of the Grove, that's fine, just get something with some resistances on it. Resistant Mogara's Fang of, I don't know, Harmony or something. Just get some resistances if you can't get of the Grove, that's fine. You will also need a +1 soldier skill belt. Now, you don't have to use an Ugdenbog girdle. I do think it's better than the crafted one. We will... Hang on. We will be crafting the level 50 version of the Devil's Crossing belt, but we don't currently have enough reputation to buy the recipe, so that's why we're using this. You could have just stuck with the level 31. This has got more armor, this has got better resistances, doesn't have the damage proc, but this is okay. The next thing you want to look at is things like this. Now, this isn't the end of the world, okay, and I didn't find a good replacement. Let's just double check in here for any gloves. So, these would be alright. We would lose a ton of resistances though, so probably not. These are actually, I would say fine. 2% over. Yeah, you could definitely go with those. But the basic idea is not to have any items that are more than about 10 levels old, especially armor slots. If your ring is level 20, that's fine. If your ring is level 5, that's fine. As long as you have a reason for using it, you know, if it happens to have 33% poison resistance and 12% vitality resistance on it, it's probably worth using, even if it's level 5. But for armor slots, you really want to keep them within, let's say, 10 levels-ish, just for the armor value. So if you have a look at my armor rating here, everything is above 1000 except the head and the gloves. So this is level 30, and this is level 35. I will be looking to upgrade these pretty much as soon as I can, although the Flesh Warped Cask is not really going to be upgradable until Act 2, but that's fine. So, basically Black Legion for shoulders, boots, and chest guard, and then we have a lot of MIs and such everywhere else. The other thing we now have access to, once you get to Honored with Homestead or Black Legion, this one's Black Legion, this one is Homestead, and this one is also Homestead. This is by far the most defensive of the three. This is the definitely the more offensive one. That 40 offensive ability means we're going to be critting a lot more. 60% fizz damage is nice, fire damage, who cares? This one is kind of the middle of the road one. So because this is a weapon, that plus 80 armor gets applied to every single slot. And then we get the physical damage. So do you want to be extra tanky? Because 8% armor is very, very nice. Pierce resistance is something I have a hole. I'm not capped on Pierce, rather. And also reduced stun duration, well, I'm not capped on that either. So for me, I am going to use this one. I'm doing plenty of damage in my opinion. I have, however, made a terrible, terrible mistake. So let me go buy another one of those, and I'll be back in a second. Alright, just had to bounce back to normal to get another one of these. Because the other hole we have is Aether, and we are decently over on Chaos. So I'm going to swap the Imbued Silver on this weapon for this Purified Salt. So let's go ahead and do that. Never mind. Let's go back to normal, and I'm not going to pause it this time, I'm just going to do it. Let's go back to normal and do that swap. This is honestly probably not needed. I'm just doing this to be extra thorough. The amount of Aether or Chaos damage you're going to find in Act 1 is quite low. But it's better to be safe than sorry, and it's very difficult to get the hardcore achievements if you die just after going into Elite because you happen to run into an Elite or a hero monster that had you know, a bit of Aether damage and you just died. Unlikely to happen, but possible. Okay, so all of our resistances are now capped, with the exception of poison and acid. We've got some other items floating around, but I'm probably not going to use those. Right, let's let ourselves into Devil's Crossing. Go use the bank. The other thing I went and bought is the Mammoth Vanguard Cuirass and Pauldrons. These will be used at level 65. There is also a helmet you can use if you want. I believe it's called the Mammoth Defenders helmet or something like that. There's a similar version of these in helmet form, with a different name. You can use that if you want. Personally, I prefer to have the Warcry stuff on this helmet. Having said that, however, I may end up swapping this out for the Ascended Cask from Act 2 when we get there, because that also has some very nice bonuses. I think it was to Spectral Binding. But that will depend on what we find, basically. So, I do have these ready and waiting at level 65. When you put these on, you will notice your armor goes through the roof. This also has a bunch of Fizz Res, more levels on Force Wave and Blindside. And I did go shopping for this one to get a good health roll, a good Fizz Res roll, and max roll on the reduced stun duration. And this one was actually the first one I checked, which was surprising, but 30% is the maximum roll on the Aether and Chaos resistances. 5% chance to avoid projectiles is the minimum roll, and 7 to 10 physical damage I think is the minimum roll as well. So these are not perfect by any means, but I value resistances more than most things. I'm going to hang on to these, although I may not end up using them. I'll probably accidentally remove that at some point. Okay, so we rescued Faldus while we were here earlier, getting our Slith Primal Ring. But now we are actually doing Act 1. So, like I said last time, no matter what you do, no matter how well prepared or poorly prepared you are, it is still Act 1, which means you're fighting mostly zombies, mostly weaker enemies. The zombies, okay, these are all soldiers, but they're still zombies. They're very slow. You can just run away from most of them. And even being level 53, we're still going to be perfectly fine. The other thing you will notice with this being elite is things will do more damage. Let's see if we can't round up a crowd of these. If you remember in normal, I was just standing, tanking a horde of goblins. You're not going to be able to do that here. I say as I take almost no damage from these. Alright, I gotta admit, I didn't expect this to work. Let's just turn off Spectral Binding for a second here. We have definitely got enough defenses to stand in a horde of these guys and take no damage. Like I was saying, it is still Act 1, even if it is elite, and even if they have damage buffs, and even if, you know, they're more scary, it's still Act 1. You're gonna be fine. Once more, we come down here to kill Kaizog, and actually the strategy for killing him is the same as it was in normal. You stand still in Force Wave. If he summons zombies like this one, just kill them, and then go back to hitting him. There he goes. Now I am keeping my eye out for specifically gloves. Gloves are what I want. I'm unlikely to find a helmet to replace the one I have. Milton's, maybe? And we did just get a whole bunch more tanky as well, because with that devotion point, we now have Tip the Scales, which needs to go on a skill that has permanent uptime, and don't use Aether Ward. Please don't do this. I've done this before, put a skill on here and then remove the Aether Ward because I wanted Chaos Res or something like that, and then forgot to rebind the skill, and it just did nothing for a long time. So I'm going to put that on Spectral Binding, and basically what this does is whenever we get hit, 33% chance, so 1 in 3 times we get hit, up to once a second, this will shoot out a, I think it's a wave. I'm not sure actually. Let's go test it. But basically, it'll attack the enemy with main hand damage in addition to a bunch of vitality, and it'll heal us for a chunk of that damage. So because it is main hand damage, 12% of our main hand, you can see the damage on the side there, up to 500, plus 430 vitality damage, and then we get 85% of the damage back as health. So we just got a whole lot more tanky. I think that was the proc going off there. Let's see if we can't get a few of these guys to trigger it. That red proc. I think we're at the point where we actually can't die in Elite Act 1 as well. There's probably going to be something that can kill us, but general purpose, just fighting stuff like this, I actually think it's impossible for us to die again. At the very least, it's going to be very hard. Alright, so we've killed off Kaizog. Let's go ahead and get Pharos as well. We can yell at things to kill them, which is always fun. And we did just pick up a purple, which, continuing on from earlier, I'm not using even if it was good, and it's not. I am going to avoid purples for this playthrough, and where possible I will also avoid random blues. But for blues that are quite common, I think that's probably fine. So no purples, and only sort of common blues. So for example, I would have no problem at all using the Perdition set, because that stuff drops all the time. Okay, so we've got a Savage Totem. I think at this point in the game, we have enough health regen and healing effects on us. We can probably even start doing Ancient Totems, so we've got this heal. We've got a shield if we happen to get load from that. We've got Lifesteal on our charge. We've got Lifesteal on Force Wave. I think we're going to be fine. So let's get these guys out here. And can a pack of 4 heroes actually hurt us? It seems like they can hurt us, but I don't know. This is probably a whole bunch of things stacking on the ground, so it does look like they can kill us, but it does seem very unlikely. So, there we go. Now this is going to be painful to not wear. They are very common for purples, but I will not use those. Okay, I did just see a Ring of Supremacy, so we'll see what else is on that. And what do we got? The Elixir of the Ancients. This is a really nice potion. I'm just waiting for the other blueprint to pop up. I can't remember what it was. There's our Vigorous Ring of Supremacy. This is a really nice ring, actually. We could probably swap this in once we get a few more... it was Blight, okay. Once we get a few more resistances on other pieces, we could probably use that ring. That's quite nice. And the Elixir of the Ancients is a good one to have for boss fights as well. 900 second duration is, what, 15 minutes, I think? 60 seconds times 10, yeah, 15 minutes, yep. So for 15 minutes you get a bunch of offensive ability and some extra damage. It's a nice little bonus. These pants, like I said, these are going to be quite hard to not wear because they have really good resistances on them. 6% Fizz Res is really nice, and then Poison and Chaos on top of that. It's got physical damage. It's got a damage proc on it. Really hard to not wear those. But the rule is no purples, because you're probably not going to get that. Right, actually, let's just skip forward a little ways. We've already done the Slith Ring. We've already done Rescue Faldus, and we just did Kaizog. So I think it might be time to stop waffling quite so much and get a move on. Now, Milton, I don't think... yeah, Milton's not in here. So that's fine. We will come around here. He's probably in that house. He's not in that house. Okay. Well, there's only one more place he can be, so... knock knock, Milton. So once again, the strategy for most of these bosses is going to be stand still and force wave. And you can kite them, you know. Run back, throw a few force waves, dodge the AoE, run back, wait for him to do his big swing, run back again. You can do that if you want. But he probably would have died faster if we just stood in front of him and blew him up. Definitely make sure you hit all of the Aether Crystals, because as I mentioned earlier, if you ever think you have enough Aether Crystals, you need more. There is actually no such thing as enough Aether Crystals. One thing you will notice as well, stepping into Elite, is your XP rate will go up. Not hugely, but it will go up. You'll get more XP for killing most things, which is good. Normally I will go into Elite coming out of Veteran in sort of 60 to 70 range, depending on which expansions I do. Normally I skip Forgotten Gods entirely, and I will be starting Elite Act 1 around level 60, sort of low 60s. If I were to do Forgotten Gods as well, I would be expecting high 60s to early 70s. So I almost always skip Forgotten Gods on Veteran. However, playing on normal means we're going into Elite at level 53. So this is going to be new to me, being here this early. Okay, Malduin's Cloth. Yeah, we're not using that either. Alright, that is another devotion point. We will take the left side as well. I think this one has, yep, attack damage converted to health. Good stuff. And we don't need to go and get Isaac's stash in Elite, so we can just continue down the road. We do have a merchant to rescue, but since we've already done the Slith rings, we don't even need to go over there. Just yell some of these fools to death. Alright, so heading up here into... Is this still the Foggy Bank? I think it is. The second half of the Foggy Bank anyway. I'm looking for a star on the map. I don't see it. Merchant's not there. Heading north up here. Here he is. Can just yell at things. There we go, send him in. Or back to town. Do make sure not to extort him. You definitely want the additional reputation and stuff more than you want a little bit of iron bits. So make sure not to extort him. If you didn't find him in either of those two places, he will be over this way. He will be in a cage just over here. And we're done on this side of the sunken passage now, so we can go back around there. We should probably go back to town actually and turn all this in as well. But I'm basically going to do a full run through of Act 1 without going back to town. You don't actually need to go back to town in Elite. Turning the quests in will get you XP, but it's nowhere near as important as it was in normal to get those levels. So at least in my opinion, I think it's perfectly fine, and maybe even kind of efficient, or at least more efficient, to just blast through the entire act and then go back to town and tell everyone, hey, by the way, you know, I already did it. You're welcome. Alright, Savage Totem. No problem here. Let's see if we can take damage. Probably can. These guys are... actually, you know what? I'm not even going to mess with these guys. The trolls, or the mountain people, have killed me more times than I would like to admit, and I'm just not going to give them the chance. I think everyone at this point understands that the build is quite tanky, and also the damage is pretty good as well. We didn't have another... yeah. That's fine. So yeah, as I was saying, we just continue, we blast through all of Act 1. Then I'll head back to town. And, you know what, let's just start all of this. I'll head back to town, turn it all in. We will have to do the Barnabas quests to help him out. There's level 54, and that is the Scales of Olkama done. And actually, when I said I wasn't going to go back to town, I lied. Because the next step on the devotion path is actually to remove the lion, and those points will go into Empty Throne. So we'll get a little bit of stun resistance, which will be very nice. So talk to Sedina. Thank you, good job. Thanks for not letting me hang. And we are going to take the points out of the lion.
Farewell.
And they are going to go into the Empty Throne. Now these two side ones, if you need Chaos, you take this side. If you need Aether, you take this side. I'm going to take the Chaos side because of the reduced stun duration more than anything else. You do also get some other nice things from this. After the Empty Throne, we will be moving on to Azraa. But we're not up to that yet, so let us continue. Let me see here. We're selling, I believe, everything that wasn't that particular ring. You know what? I'm going to hang on to... Am I going to hang on to that? No, I don't think I will. It's definitely worth checking jewelry, specifically rings. Well, actually only rings, because you're never going to use an amulet, but any rings you may find, like this one here. Okay, I'm not going to really use this because of the Aether damage, but it's got physical damage on it, and it's got 2 resistances. This is kind of okay. If I ever found myself in a situation where, let's just pretend I didn't have this ring and I was still using this one, maybe I would find myself in a situation where I need a little more poison and a little more vitality, and then I would use this ring. I'm not going to, so that's fine. And like I said, I'm going to come back and do all these turn-ins later, so we can skip them for now. Just get a little bit more room in the inventory. Alright. So coming up here is the Shambler. In normal, I said that I was going to basically require you to farm a Shambler's Amulet. In Elite, I don't care. If you want to farm a Shambler's Amulet, by all means, but once you have access to Megara's Fang, +1 to soldier skills is worth way more than even, you know, +3 to Force Wave is really nice. The +2 to Spectral Binding I think is Theurgist. And that flat fizz damage to Force Wave is also really nice. But what's even nicer is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.5 levels worth of skill points. So we use Megara's Fang of the Grove, or just Megara's Fang of some resistance rolls. +1 to all skills is basically the best thing that's going to happen. Okay, in normal difficulty, it's worth it to help Duncan, because he gives you more XP. And realistically, you don't really care so much about the crafting bonus of Angram. It is nice, but you know, half a level extra is also quite nice. If you're not in normal, there is no reason at all to not side with Angram. Siding with Duncan makes the quest take longer. You don't get any additional benefits. You lose one of the best smiths in the game. There's no reason to always side with Angram in Elite and in Ultimate. You can join us, side with Angram. The other good thing about siding with him is he just buggers off to town and you can talk to him there. If you side with Duncan, you've got to take the hammer to Duncan so he can make armor for the people he's with. Then, so you have to run back over here and talk to him. Or, you know, Riftgate over there and talk to him. And then go back to town to collect your reward. So it's an extra step for basically no reason. Going in the back door to this cave, just because it makes it easier. Although having said that, this cave is full of Aether crystals and I kind of want them, so I may just go and clear it out anyway. At least kill the crystals. I don't really care so much about the zombies. Zombies can keep their cave, I just want the crystals. There we go. So that devotion point there is going to go into finishing off the empty throne. So that's a bit of Aether res, some freeze duration reduction to go with the stun duration, to go with the slow resistance there. All good stuff. We're now capped on the stun duration, so I would consider swapping out that potent Dermapteran chitin, and I probably will swap it out. Get a little bit more damage, a little bit more offensive ability, I think, would be the way to go. Let's go ahead and turn all the loot off so I can see what's going on. Alright, everybody's dead. What did we win? Astral leg wraps, empowered. I don't think I can wear those just because of resistances. So, the armor upgrade would be nice. It's got a little bit more health, but 5% physical resistance is a big deal. Plus 2 to Scars of Battle is also a big deal, so this will increase our crowd control resistance, bleed resist, but more importantly that increased armor absorption. We're still not capped on that, so that is a really nice thing to have. So those pants are not being replaced, at least not with those ones. Alright, as long as we're here, let's go ahead and collect Angram. Good old Steven Seagal. There's actually a lot of references to movies in this game. The next thing we need to do, Alistair's diary, sure. This apparently is not a ramp. Let's go ahead and eat that diary. And we have our 2 zombie friends around the corner to take care of, as well as their Aether crystals. So here is Balros and Azraa the Tormented. Let's just yell at them. They can do a bit less damage. And there we go. So that's another quest done. Now we can just basically run up the road. Now there's almost always a blockage in there somewhere. Here's the blockage on the side. It's very unusual to get the blockage down here. It's almost always blocks this road. And so I almost always have to go up that way. But didn't have to this time. Now, regarding totems. Actually, let me come back to totems. We have a fight here. Alright, I was expecting 3 instead of just Bulvarus Glacierborn. That's right, I'll take it. Right, so regarding totems, I'm going to pretty much do every totem from here on out, and I think you should be able to as well. I am, however, going to recommend the Ancient Aether Warped Totem not be done. I'm going to do it, and that will explain why. You should be able to tell from watching me do it that it's probably not the best idea. Alright, looks like we're going up this way. And actually going up this way does allow me to show off one of the hidden locations in Act 1. It's definitely not worth going to this hidden location in normal, because there's, I mean, it's a decent way out of the way, and there's no real rewards there in normal. So in normal difficulty I would say it's not worth doing. But in Elite there is a devotion shrine there, so we're gonna go get that. Empowered Vial Scorn Leg Plates could be good. I've seen a few amulets pop up here and there that are, let me just find it, something like this. Mighty Inscribed Amulet of the Groove. The of the Groove part of these Mogara's Fangs is just a nice to have thing. The reason we want this is the actual fangs. So, even though I made a big deal about the of the Groove proc, it's actually not why that item is good. So, if you didn't get a Mogara's Fangs of the Grove, don't just use any old amulet with that affix on it, because it's not good. You definitely want the +1 to skills more than the heal proc. I think Warcry is definitely one of my favorite skills. I have a lot of favorite skills, I've just realized. I think my absolute favorite, though, is Spectral Wrath and Spectral Winding. Just, I mean, look at this. They hit us one time, and they're just covered in Aether and Vitality and damage. And they're weaker to physical now as well. Okay, so this is Hallowed Hill. So you get there by going under... If this rock wasn't there, you could just run it under the bridge, just here. And then into the door there. Then you come out of this trapdoor. And there are 3 things you want on this island. Potentially a few more. I think you can get 2 or 3 treasure troves on this little island here. Which, if you can get it, is great. There's also an Exalted Chest. And there is a Devotion Shrine as well. So, mostly I'm here for the Devotion Shrine. The Exalted Chest is a nice to have, and I think you can get up to 2 or 3 potentially treasure troves. One of the comments in an earlier video was asking why I get so excited about treasure troves, because all he's been getting is iron bits, a rare crafting component, and the occasional blueprint. And the reason why is the blueprints. The rare components are nice, but the reason why they're good is it's the blueprints. Every blueprint you get out of a treasure trove is one less you can potentially get from any other treasure trove. Ooh. 2 heroes, let's go ahead and take care of them. And it also opens up options. So once you start looking specifically for the end game component blueprints, so things like Titan plating, things like bloody crystals, or is it bloody crystals? I forget exactly what they're called. But once you start looking for those end game components, having a lot of the earlier stuff already knocked out means that you don't have to go through all the really common crap to get to the actual ones that you want. Right, so I did not get the Devotion Shrine. I ran past it while I was waffling. I also didn't see the treasure trove, so that means it's going to be in one of the caves, which probably means I'm not going to get it. Picked up 2 rings. Let's have a look at the resistances on them. Not very good. So I'm not going to be using them. I am going to be bouncing back to the Birch Village Rift, and we'll be heading northwest this time. I know this road is blocked, but we'll find a way through the houses. Because we want to go to the docks and collect the fabric for whatever her name is. And I like Aether Crystals, so we're just going to make a quick detour over there. The other thing it's worth doing at this point, I think, is swapping out this Via's Might wannabe for another Blitz / Shadow Strike kind of component. Because being able to cover more ground, I think, is more important than being able to dash, you know, what what is that? Maybe 20 feet in-game. You gain a tiny little amount of distance over just running, and you know, meanwhile you could be doing that. You could be standing here and dashing all down here, up the stairs, around the entire building, and finishing over there. Shadow Strike and Blitz are much better movement skills. What's that, 2? That's 2. That's not our third one, but we'll pop it anyway. Looks like the third one is going to be in the building. Yep, there it is. That's our third, so we are done. For example, that was a decent long run. Now if I'm looking over here, there's going to be some animals down here. Where are they? There they are. Okay, so this door is blocked, so we have to head out here. If you had another blockage here, you would have to go through the tunnels underground. I don't, which is nice. You would come out here, so you would go into this house, there's a tunnel here, you would come out here and come down. Alright, another desecrated shrine. We are starting, I think, Azraa now? Yes, Azraa. Now, Azraa is a little bit strange. There are two ways to do it. You can either do the entire constellation, including the proc, in which case you will need to put a point into another skill, another attack skill, to link it to, because we are going to be full. So I'm going to take the entire constellation and not take the proc, and then probably come back later and take the proc. Or maybe even just skip the proc. The proc is actually quite nice, and if you were playing a for example, if you were playing a Warlord and you had the Guardians of Empyrean, putting the Shifting Sands proc on them is amazing. They proc it constantly, all the time. And because they count as player-scaled pets instead of player pets, or instead of pet pets, they use your main hand damage and stuff as well, so really good. At least I think they use your main hand damage. They definitely use your attack speed and crit and stuff like that. Okay, collected her. But yeah, if you have another attack skill, maybe, for example, you're playing a Witchblade and you have Curse of Frailty, then you could attach it to that, and it would go off fairly regularly as well, because I think Curse of Frailty ticks a lot, if that makes any sense. But with the Death Knight build, you either have to spend a point in, for example, Ill Omen or something like that, or maybe put a point in Bone Harvest. But it's just another attack, and it's another attack that isn't Force Wave, so I'm going to skip the proc for now. The other thing you could do is take the proc, attach it to a skill, and then just don't use it. If it's not attached to a skill, it's not going to level up, so attaching it to a skill is required in order to get XP for it. If you're not going to do that, there's no point taking it, and as I said, I'm going to skip it. Now, I think I can go through that hidden door there, cut through here and go see the spiders. Yep. Now, like I said, I am going to do the ancient Aetherwarp totem, and I'm going to explain by doing it why you should not. So keep in mind, I have the Juggernaut, I have the Megara's Fang of the Grove, I have the Tortoise Shell, I have Tip the Scales, I have a bunch of lifesteal, I have really good damage. And yes, I am actually worried about this totem. This totem specifically is the most dangerous non-celestial totem in the game. This one right here has killed way more characters than any other totem, I guarantee it. So I do recommend not clicking on this. With that said, one thing you can do is have them kind of gum up the door. So if they're all in the doorway, then they're not going to be able to kind of surround you. Although having said that, they have now surrounded me. I'm going to turn the loot off so I can see what's going on. And I'm going to keep yelling at them so as they do less damage. I'm actually very disappointed. Okay, having seen that, I still don't recommend fighting that totem. The XP is not worth it. As you can see, the loot is not worth it. This is a very, very, very risky totem. Do not recommend. Please skip it. Especially now. I mean, I've got, what, 8 hours? I've got, well, 13 and a half hours. It's a long time. Yeah, it's a fight you don't have to do for rewards that are not particularly very good. I do not recommend doing it. Please skip it. Having said that, if you do decide to do it, and it does kill you, leave a comment below and just tell me, because I need a good chuckle. And it'll make me feel better. Alright, there's level 55. I could put more points into Warcry, but I'm not going to, because most skills are going to stop scaling around about their soft cap. Which means we need to find a new skill to pump. And I think it's going to be Field Command. So Field Command has a percentage armor, but more importantly it has plus offensive ability. And if you have a look at our skills here, our offensive ability is... it's actually not that bad. But it is a decent amount lower than our defense. And I would like to have more. So I think it's going to be that. You could also max out squad tactics. We are going to do both. It's just a matter of what order you do it in. The other thing you could do is break morale for more resistance or physical resistance shredding, keeping in mind that I'm pretty sure this does not apply to act bosses because of the disrupt target skills. Most bosses are going to be immune to that, and so they're also immune to the phys resistance reduction. Or you could do Blindside. Blindside is really good because of the reduced target's defensive ability, which means you're going to crit more. So that is definitely an option as well. It's probably the better option, but I'm going to go with Field Command. I want the increased armor. So as you can see, our armor is getting up there. By the time we hit 100, I want to be having 3,000 to 4,000 armor in every slot. So we'll see if that ends up happening, but that's the goal. Okay, heading down into the underground transit area. Gonna grab this, and the only thing of note in this area is the piles of aether crystals. Potentially there's an exalted chest in this area, but I'm not going to go looking for it. It's fairly out of the way. It spawns sort of up here in some secret corridors back this way. It's a lot of going out of your way for one blue item that you're probably not going to be able to use. So I'm going to skip that. You can, of course, go and get it. If you're ever not sure where the exalted chests are, they are marked on the grimtools.com maps. So it's a good way to learn them. The other thing is I just saw a pair of gloves. There we go. Good armor, good resistances. I am going to be swapping those in. I'm also looking at the fact that that is a ton of bleeding. So that unholy inscription on the gloves is probably not going to be needed. Let's just have a look what happens. So poison is now capped, which is nice. but cold is uncapped. So we need to get some elemental resistances from somewhere. Especially with Act 2 coming up. I'm going to swap out that Soul Shard for a Frozen Heart, and that's going to give us our cold resist. So that'll be fine. I don't think there's much in the way of cold damage between here and the end, but I will go and swap it out when I get to the next Rift Gate. Okay, so continuing on for Azraa, I didn't mention this, but bunch of physical damage, bunch of health and armor. Next one up here, health, defensive ability, a little bit of movement speed. That movement speed is over the cap from memory. Yep. So we could probably take that Mark of the Traveler off and put something else there. So maybe we could do, is it Dense Fur? Dense Hide? The one with the cold resist and armor on it? We could probably do something like that. That'll be something I look at once we get to the next Rift Gate. Coming through here, you definitely want to hit all of these. Aether Crystals are always permanently in short supply. There is a potential totem here that I will be doing later. I am going to go out of my way to get that. And while I'm going out of my way to get that, I'll also be checking for an Exalted Stash. However, this is by far the best place in the game to farm these crystals, so you want to do it. I think this place goes up to about level 70 in Elite, but yeah, Aether Crystals are really good. Okay, let's just do a bunch of quest turn-ins, or at least this one, and I'm going to keep the item here. My run speed is 3% over the cap. I don't know why it isn't showing that it's over the cap now, but if I take this off, I'm at 129%. Put it back on 135, so I'm actually at 138, so I can afford to lose another 3% move speed, but yeah, that'll be fine. So what I could do is I could put a Mark of the Traveler on there just for a little bit of regen, or let's go have a look. I know I want Restless Remains for the gloves, so let's talk to him. And Restless Remains, boom. So this is 10% casting speed and some more life leech. Really good for Force Wave. This is pretty much made for a Force Wave build, so Restless Remains on the gloves is definitely good. What else we got? I don't think I have the... no. I don't think I have the Mogdrogan's, or Mark of Mogdrogan boot enchantment. So what do we got? Could do Anti-Venom Salve. Probably not horrible. A little bit of regen, some armor, and some poison res. What else we got? Mark of the Traveler, we just took that off, so no. Bristly Fur, bit of health, some constitution, and scavenge plating. I think we go with that one for now. It's not going to stay like that, but I don't really have any better options. I guess we could put on something like a Dense Fur that would cap the cold resistance again. Yeah, let's do that actually. It hurts a little bit to destroy a anti-venom salve, but not really. Yeah, we're gonna kill him. We're gonna kill him and it's gonna be easy. And since we're in the area, let's go ahead and just turn everything in. Don't need her amulet. Don't need his stories. Let's go ahead and give Constance her fabric. all this XP, leveling up all of the devotion procs is very nice. Okay. I think we can turn in both of his quests here. Yep. Already dealt with them. Beautiful. We're going to melt that anti-venom salve here and put on our dense fur. More health. The minimum I would say for hardcore, you want at least 100 HP per level, so 5,500. We are well above that. We're up around 200 and 210 or something. Our health pool is very solid at this point in the game. Yep. Okay. Skill point from that can go into field command. I'm going to take this up to 12 of 12, and then probably do the same for squad tactics, and then at that point probably break morale or blindside. Don't need to talk to him just yet. Actually, let's do that, then we'll go kill Krieg, and that'll have to be the end of the episode, I think. Let's take care of the Slith. And this is just going to be a quick run through this area. There's nothing down here that I actually care about, so we'll skip most or all of it that we can. Jeez, that spider is absolutely booking it. Okay, first area done, into the second area. Now in here you may find a ancient armor point. You may find a totem. You can feel free to do it or not. If I find one in here, I am going to skip it. I'm just looking at the time on this episode, and I want to kill Krieg this episode as well, and I don't want to go much past the hour mark. Just to kind of make it a little less of a marathon for people to watch. Ideally, I'd like to finish this under an hour, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen if I want to kill Krieg. Too much waffling, not enough button pushing, I guess. Okay, veil off the Corruptor. Just for something different, we're going to stand still and force wave. She's going to drop us 2 rings. And we are going to fill our inventory. Alright, that's fine. Frozen Heart is a pretty good component for your rings as well. Okay, 2 more in there. Let's spend a point in Physique. We also have 1 more point in Azraa. Now, ordinarily, if you were going for the proc, I would say don't take this. I would say go straight for this one, and then go straight for the proc. However, this has got casting speed, which is a very nice increase. Piercing damage I don't really care about, and 100% physical is actually not worth that much. It's more like 10% physical. Okay, back to town. Can turn that in, sell this off, and then we'll go play with Krieg, I think. Alright, that's him dead.
I'll give you a good price on what I've got left.
Yeah, you go ahead and keep that, whatever it is. See, a ring like this, I'm going to hang on to. Elemental and Bleeding are good resistances to have rings for. I'll probably never use it, let's be honest. I keep a lot of stuff just sitting there for, just in case, and then never use it. It's not a bad thing to have options, though. I'm looking for items that have, or specifically rings, that have 2 resistances that I consider good. So, Elemental is good, Fire is not. Poison is good. Aether and Chaos is good. Vitality, I actually don't really care about. I've never found myself sitting there thinking, man, I wish I had a little bit more vitality resistance. It seems to be pretty much everywhere. Okay, let's go say hi to Krieg. What are we up to? We're just hit an hour, so try and get through this a little quickly. I'm not expecting any issues at all with Krieg. He is going to be heavily resisted, and we have tons of armor and all the other fun things as well. So I'm expecting Krieg to be a little bit of a walkover, which is good. Walkover is good. Having said that, you never know when walkover is suddenly going to decide that actually no, you are the carpet, and they're going to walk on you. Alright, so again, I am going to take the time to farm these crystals. Probably should kill off a lot of this stuff that's following me so I don't have to chase it out of the room when I'm fighting Krieg. And massed up monsters like that are pretty good for XP. Let's take him out. Down goes Azraa. Alright, let's clear this area. And here's Krieg. So, I think Krieg is a bit of a wimp, so I'm going to be the aggressor here. I'm going to charge him down and slam his face in. And then I'm going to do the same with the second form. If you get in his face, you will have to deal with the stomp, but, I mean, you saw how much damage that didn't do. And as long as you just keep throwing in Blitz and Warcry, he's gonna go down very quickly. So we'll pop open the chest. He should, yep, tainted brain matter the first time you kill him on each difficulty. Runeforged chest guard, maybe? No, definitely not. This helmet is something to consider. So this is not a heavy armor, not a heavy helmet. But it does have +1 to all skills in Soldier, and it does have an okay resistance. Now, I'm not going to use this, because I think the bonuses to Warcry there are very nice. The -3 second skill recharge on Warcry actually means that you can use it more often than the recharge. So you can keep that 25% less damage from all monsters, can be kept up permanently. So I'm going to keep the Flesh Warped Cask. This is one you could use. +1 to all skills is incredibly powerful. But for me, I'm not going to use it. However, with that said, that is going to be the end of Act 1. And that is also going to be the end of Episode 12. So thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and goodbye for now.